This first part in Tendinitis is a clean guitar part with a I switch back and forth between using all of just my fingers with the pick a little bit, and then both at the same time. And this part was written trying to emulate a piano with like a sustain pedal and all that stuff. So some of the fingerings are a little spread out, so that way notes that are only like a half step or a whole step apart from each other can ring out together. The way I came up with this part was just by combining multiple like parts from the programming of the orchestral elements that I had made into one cohesive guitar part. And this is what it ended up being. So this is the first riff in Tendinitis. It is very pull-off centric. It was written around an arpeggiator. I wrote the arpeggiator first and then figured out how to play the riff on guitar after I created it on the computer. And this is what it translated into. It ended up being with like a lot of pull-offs and random palm mutes and things like that. I had to maneuver notes up and down octaves in order for it to be playable. And this is what it ended up looking like. I'll play it slow and then fast. So this solo part in Ishimura was inspired by a combination of a couple different things. I would say if I could hit the nail on the head, it would be a combination of apart from Guthrie Govan's song Sevens and the Final Fantasy theme song, or the Prelude one, the one that's all add 9 arpeggios. So this one is a little bit tricky to play clean, and I essentially just kind of took like my own kind of variation / arrangement of like the tapping part from Sevens, and then made it my own and just applied the chord progression that I already had in the song Ishimura to this tapping pattern kind of. And I threw in a couple of little changes here and there, but I was gonna play like the first half of this and So this part is probably one of the most oddly timed sections of the entire album. It kind of hops back and forth between a lot of 7/8 and 9/8 measures and ends back in 4/4 for a split second. It's kind of sticks pretty much into the pentatonic scale the entire time, but it changes keys a bunch, and I throw some melodic minor in there for a second and switches to harmonic major and blah blah blah. It's all over the place theoretically, this little section. So hope you guys enjoy it. It's a weird one and good for practice. But this last lick I'm going to show you guys is another very pull-offy kind of lick, which, again, theoretically, I like to bounce back and forth all over the place between a few different types of things. As long as it sounds good, you can do that. And this riff in particular hops back and forth between, I think, just regular, like Phrygian type minor to Aeolian, both parallel with each other. Song's actually in the key of F sharp, but this guitar I have right now is in G. And then at the very end, it switches to Aeolian for a second again, and then does this weird ascending thing in the melodic minor, and then just kind of abandons any scale altogether towards the end, and just like I throw in a few like accidentals in there just to transition into the next part. But anyway, it's a super fun riff. I really like it a lot. It's probably one of my favorites on the album. I started listening to Children of Bodom a lot again when I wrote it, so to me it's reminiscent of that in a way, the way it hops in between all the different scales parallel with each other. But anyway, this is the riff. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of a brief rundown on most of the gear that I use for the album. And it's probably a lot less extensive than most of you guys think it would be, realistically. Pretty much all of the guitars, as far as I can remember, were tracked on this version of my signature guitar. This actual guitar, my own personal Rorschach. I believe all of the guitars, for the most part, were done on this one. I also used a Cordova Classical for a couple parts, and on 14 2.0 I used a steel string PRS SE acoustic for that one. And then the Majesty 8 wasn't out yet when I recorded everything, so I used this Abasi for Pumbachoo, all the 8-string stuff on the album. And I do believe, I think Polyrhythmic Pug has like a second of 8-string on it as well, and like underneath the rhythm part. And the most extensive part when it comes to gear for this album is honestly the software. The album was pretty much done with guitar tone wise with all of my plugins, just beta versions of it, because it wasn't finished quite yet. And then my Bricasti up here, this reverb is like one of the main reverbs that was used on like any of the acoustic guitar stuff, tons of orchestral elements. I used all these synths. I have a Callvox, Sub 37 mode, DSI OB6, and Roland Juno 106 back here. And yeah, used all of that for sure. Honestly, the most extensive part is all of the software, all of the programming. That's like real deep into the track count when it like exponentially more than when it comes to guitar and things like that. So that's pretty much it. I have a bunch of guitar pedals over here, a bunch of Strymon stuff that I use. Honestly, not really for guitar stuff, more for the synth stuff is what I used those for. Can't really remember any specifics. I kind of just like turn stuff on and start tweaking knobs. I found like a really sick sounding preset, and then I'll mess with it a little bit from there. Same thing kind of goes with the effects pedals as well. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Use the Mayong, or the John Mayong Artist Series 6-string bongo for bass. I have no idea what Taylor did for mixing on that. But yeah, it was all in the box. I know that for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it gear-wise. If you want your guitar to sound essentially like almost identical to the guitar tones that we have on the album, grab JR Music Man and JR mix wave, and then boom. There you go. Album guitar tone. Thanks for listening, guys. Young guitar is awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed all of this. Thanks a lot. Talk to you guys soon.